series. So of course we've got Murph in to have a chat. Murph, it's been a while since we've caught up. Plenty going on. Have you ever seen the like of the boom run at the moment?
Yeah, it's remarkable. No is a short answer. I think the sort of most similar thing was Fallon Sherritt when she won a couple of games of the World Championship, but it was not in terms of for her short-lived, but in terms of the attention on darts in general was quite short-lived.
Yeah.
But this with Luke Littler obviously being in the Premier League as well has helped massively. It just goes on and on. And the thing is, and it's a thing that I think a lot of people in darts didn't understand, but now are coming round to understanding, is it's got eyes on darts, not just one person. I've been at Pro Tours where there's been little kids outside waiting for autographs, not mine, but yeah, Luke's and whoever else. You know, I think Luke won one when I was there. The next day it was Gary Anderson and Ryan Searle, and they were waiting for their autographs as well. So it's not just that the attention's on one person, it's that one person's success has brought attention to darts as a whole, and that is a really good thing, and also for some people a really bad thing.
Well, I'm going to come on to that in a minute, because I've spoken about this quite a lot this week to various people on the live lounge as well, so I want to get your take on it. But before the World Championships, you said Luke would win the World Championship, and going into that final, you were going to be right either way. But I know we spoke in the build-up to the Worlds, and I had Luke get into the quarterfinals, and we said, could he do the unthinkable? He was just remarkable and fearless in that whole run that nothing fazed him.
Yeah, and it became less and less of a surprise to everybody. My concern, and it wasn't a concern that was massive, but my concern was, what he's done here at the Super Series, could he take that to the pressure cooker of the World Championship? After game one, I was on board. I thought he could go a long, long way in this tournament. Missed a few of the players that he could have met along the way, but takes nothing away from the performances. The numbers speak for themselves. Final was fantastic. I have to say Luke Humphries dealt with it incredibly well, because he had this avalanche of support for the other player, and the momentum that the Luke Littler story had gathered, and won what was rightfully his World Championship to win based on what he'd done that year. I think the two Lukes are really, really exciting for the sport in different ways, and I think Luke Humphries has dealt with the whole thing with real class, because he does get it. But again, Luke Littler, one of the words that I've used, when we've been speaking about him for about a year now, haven't we, when we've had our chats, and one of the words I've used is maturity, and I think even though he is a teenage boy, and a lot of his sort of attributes point to that, the way that he's taken everything in his stride has been fantastic. Yeah,
look, just absolutely sensational. And then he gets the Premier League call, and people were thinking, is it too soon? But then he goes and wins in Bahrain. He's won a Pro Tour, he's won a Euro Tour, fully justified that Premier League call-up, and he's genuinely exciting the Premier League now as well.
Absolutely, and do you know what? I think back to, as you do with these situations, the moments that you might have had with that person, and I think back to an interview that he gave on the balcony here at the Live Lounge, and it was about him choosing to go to Ali Pali rather than the Lakeside, and he said, I don't know if I'll ever get that chance again. I mean, he knows how good he is, obviously, and I think it's the kind of same with the Premier League. The PDC, one, is a marketing machine, a dream for the PDC and the sport of darts, and rightfully they're utilising that to the hilt while protecting him the best they can as well. But I feel it got to the point where they must have felt they had no right to stop him, to take away this dream for him, because nobody knows what's going to happen in anybody's career. So I'm all for players making the most of it when they're at the top of their game, and that might last for 3 years, it might last for 33 years.
The other thing it's been interesting is senior players jumping to his defence saying, leave him alone, just let him play darts. And they're not saying that you don't do any media, but they're saying at times the extra he was doing was too much, that I thought was interesting, that they were noticing things like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I see both sides of it. I think it was probably over-egged by certain players. I wasn't at the World Championship that much. I was there a couple of days. I don't think I was there on any day that he played. So I didn't really see close up the sort of circus that would have been around it. Look, I was around when Michael van Gerwen won his first world title in the Netherlands. I saw what it was like for him then, around when Fallon did what she did. So I got an idea. But I think I think what people are trying to say is different to what they're actually saying. So when they say let him play darts, I think, well, who's stopping him playing darts? That's never happened. But I get the advice. I think that it might be actually better spent if they really want to help. Put your arm around him, speak to him, have a chat with him, and say, just be careful with this, because they're people that have had that experience, which is why they want to speak about it. But I think it really sort of attacking the media doesn't really help anyone.
Almost just stokes the fire a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen a couple of exchanges between a couple of players, one at the Worlds, I think with Gary, one with Michael at a Premier League, where you end up with this little argument between them and the media. It's like, well, what do you want us to do? Do you not want us to write about him? Do you not want us to write about darts? I think, look, protect the lad at all costs, which I'm sure is happening. He's got management, the PDC will be looking after him. Everything he does will now be getting monitored. Let him enjoy it, and he is enjoying it. That's the other thing. People are almost assuming that he doesn't want any attention, but he seems to be reveling in himself. So let's listen to him as well. It's his life, his choice. But also just understand that what's happening with him, and it was the same with Fallon a few years ago, is increasing your pay packet. So,
massively, going back to the point you made about eyes on the sport, I've never seen so many eyes on the sport ever. Normally we've got the normal darts outlets and journalists, but now we've got mainstream media reporting on darts, and although that is great, it also comes with an added responsibility, and for the first time darts as a sport is properly under the microscope in everything it does. And everyone has to be aware of that now, from players obviously themselves to people like me who commentate on the game. I think the first Pro Tour, one of my fellow commentators sort of said, Little has just been a bit sulky there or something, just to throw away a comment when he maybe threw a dart away or something. 10 minutes later it's in the national newspapers on their social media saying, darts commentator slams Luke Littler, and it's just like, it's really, really strange. I've never seen anything like it. But like, it's for years and years and years we've wanted darts to get the recognition it deserves, because we've known for a long time that it's one of the most watched sports outside of football in this country and around several countries in the world. So we wanted it to get that recognition it deserves, but it's all our responsibilities, whether we're in the media in darts, whether we are players, managers, sponsors, even fans, to make sure that darts is painted in the most positive light it can be, and let everyone else come in and go, that's a event I want to go to, that's a sport I want to watch. We've seen a couple of players really mess up recently, one more serious than the other. We'll talk about Riccardo Pietrezco first, that again took umbrage to Luke Littler's way of finishing, but it's nothing new, it's nothing we haven't seen before, and we've seen him have previous with that at the Grand Slam, arguing with the fans about the bow and the game after and that, and look, he's a fabulously talented player, but maybe just needs to mature a little bit, and if he had Luke's maturity, perhaps he'd learn from these mistakes, because he doesn't seem to be at the moment. What's
ironic is both of those instances were matches against teenagers who behaved more maturely than he did. So I completely am against his reaction. Look, again, it's a really difficult mix, because on the one hand I've just said let's make sure darts is painted in the best light, but of course it's competitive sport, and we don't want the players to be up there and good shot, old chaps, you know what I mean?
I'm with you on that.
Time. We want to see players being competitive, but when that game shot is called, when that's the end of the match, you've lost or you've won, treat it with the same grace and respect, treat your opponent with respect. But it's also a strange game because people are on very different trajectories in darts at different times of life. We've got players who appear in the early 40s maybe and have the best days. You've got players that are brilliant when they're 16. So just because Pietrezco's older than Luke Littler doesn't mean that he's not on a learning curve as well. So what I kind of think about that is let's give him the opportunity to learn. He's made that mistake twice now quite publicly. If it keeps happening, who's around him, who's speaking to him and saying, look, keep your emotions in check. I'm sure every sports person in the world, every top sports person in the world has lost a big match, behaved impeccably on the stage or on the court or whatever it is, and then gone into the changing rooms and smashed the racket or thrown the darts in the bin, whatever it might be. In the public eye, you need to understand that you're an ambassador for yourself and your sport.
The interesting one is obviously the Adam Smith-Neale video that dropped Monday as we're filming this on Wednesday. And look, you can't condone it in any way and fully justified. But do you think the DRA would have acted so quickly if this had happened last year and when the eyes weren't on the sport?
Difficult question, because if it happened last year when the eyes weren't on the sport, it probably wouldn't have even reached the levels that it did on social media. Obviously somebody shared some CCTV footage. How can I put this? That it's not a problem that the DRA have got now, but the situation that the DRA have now got is this sets a precedent now. So he's assaulted someone, allegedly, we have to call it, although we saw the video bizarrely, but yeah, allegedly he's assaulted someone. That's suspended for that. So that now does that now mean that any allegation of assault results in a suspension for any player? Does it mean that if there is some sort of evidence to back that up, it results in a suspension? Of course, the ideal scenario is that what they've done here, which I think is why they've done it, works as a deterrent for anyone else to get involved in that kind of thing. And in that case, I think it's a sensible move.
I fully agree that the decision is right. It's just interesting the timing. And on that same incident, what you said there, I fully agree the precedent is set. Is Kim Huybrechts breathing a huge sigh of relief that his altercation that's only just come out was dealt with a while ago before all this? Because looking at it, and there's a lot of people on social media, they're like, hang on a minute, how has he got away with not getting any kind of suspension? So timing's everything. Potentially,
and I think, again, is it for a regulatory authority to explain their decisions, maybe? Because I think sometimes you look at certain decisions and there can be inconsistencies at times. I saw some footage of the Huybrechts thing. It's difficult to make out exactly what's going on that one, so the sort of evidence, the case is less conclusive. So there will be reasons why that one's... I mean, we don't even know the punishment for Adam Smith-Neale. This is suspended, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not been dealt with yet.
So it's an ongoing case, and we don't even know if it becomes a criminal case because the person assaulted or anybody else could actually 100%. Report it to the police or whatever. So I think, at the moment, dealt with correctly. We will see how that develops. Hope it acts as a deterrent. But in terms of Kim and every other dart player out there, just need to really think hard and understand that anything they do doesn't have to be at a PDC event, doesn't even have to be at a darts event. Anything they do can affect their own reputation and their own career, and darts as a whole. Well,
it's interesting, like we're talking about this, that beforehand the sports side of these media companies have always covered darts, but now it's the entertainment side and the front pages that are now looking for these stories, that darts players are almost on a level with Premier League footballers, not in terms of wages or anything, but you know what I mean, the scrutiny that's on them and this goldfish bowl that they live in, because the entertainment segments of newspapers and TV outlets are now looking for them to trip up. It's a real tricky little period for the players to get used to all this.
Yeah, and they've got to take responsibility for themselves. They are individual sports people at the end of the day, and I know they've got management teams around them and things like that. If anyone's struggling with a certain issue or whatever, then the PDPA is there to offer support. I know they've got various avenues for that, but in general, people need to take responsibility for themselves, and there are certain things that if you can't control yourself, then find a way to control yourself, or take temptations away. Don't put yourself in those situations. Like both the situations you mentioned are ridiculous, and like people might laugh. I don't think I've ever thrown a punch to anybody. Do you know what I mean? I just think that everyone just needs to make sure that they show respect for the sport and all the hard work that people are trying to do, because it only takes this to happen 4 or 5 times, and all of a sudden that brilliant media attention it's getting becomes... and darts is that pub sport again.
Yeah, 100%.
That's how it could be seen.
It's just almost the biggest crossroads the sport's been in since the split. Because beforehand, the PDC's been on a trajectory and it's all been good, but now it seems at a real crossroads that it's going from a popular sport to a mega sport.
Yeah, and that's where they've been trying to take it. So they've got, they're getting their goal, and the people that have got it there have got it there by their own hard work. That I think the PDC have done an incredible job in being ready for this to explode, because the one thing they could never control was how that happened. So they can't control the outcome of matches. They don't know that Fallon Sherritt was going to do what she did. They didn't know that Luke Littler was going to turn up at the World Championship and do what he did. So what they've had to do is believe in their own product, which they've always done, promote it the best they can, which they've always done, but also be ready for when it explodes to ensure that they can maximise it. And I see them doing that. And despite the couple of things that have been negative, I think there's been 90% positive, exciting things happening. And you'll have it as well. People who have never ever spoke to me about darts are speaking to me about darts, ringing me up, how do I get tickets? So when's that Luke Littler playing?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely crazy. But look, great for the sport that it is going to that next level. Just looking at what we've seen in the first half of the year, we've seen some good darts, some bad darts, some intriguing stuff from all. How have you assessed the first quarter of the season?
Interesting. I think it's kind of been a little show still since the World Championship, not just because of the media attention, but because of the darts he's been playing. 9 darters in winning all of the 3 PDC titles that he's won, which is remarkable, winning his first Pro Tour, winning a World Series event, winning his first Euro Tour event as well. It's an incredible story, and it's got no sign of coming to any sort of abrupt end. Very, very excited about watching what happens with him. But in amongst that, you've still got other players playing really well. But just don't think right now, Luke Humphries aside, Luke Humphries maybe had a slight slow start to the year, just the very beginning of the year, but he seems to be finding a level of consistency and a high level of performance again now, just that the other players aren't doing it as often as the 2 Lukes, I think. Yeah,
it's an interesting one. Obviously, we know Michael van Gerwen very well, but this shoulder injury looks like it's slightly worse than what he's letting on. It's been a disappointing 3 weeks since that injury. Are you concerned that they may need some time off because it's not showing any sign of getting better?
Well, again, we just spoke about lessons for dart players with the issues that have happened, the incidents, and I think this is another one for potentially someone like Luke Littler to look and go, well, how much darts has Michael van Gerwen played in the last 15 years? An awful lot of darts. If this was happening to a player who was 49 and they'd played the same amount of darts over that period, everyone would be starting to go, oh, well, they're getting all the aches and pains now, their career's on the decline and stuff. And I think, Michael's a player who actually managed his calendar quite well at times. So there is a worry, and I think it's almost a bigger worry that he's had different injuries. I know that he had the carpal tunnel thing initially, that's effectively a repetitive strain injury, so it's clearly as a result of playing so much darts. He'd had an injury in his foot in the past that was because of the way that he stood at the hockey, and I think that for me that's the worry, is that he's getting so many sort of little niggly injuries, and I think the one at the UK Open, it just felt suddenly in the middle of a match. So I think, I hope that the kind of coincidences are not going to be recurring problems, because it would be an absolute travesty if we didn't get that 2 or 3 years of Littler versus Humphries versus Van Gerwen, which would be incredibly exciting for the sport.
Well, it's interesting that pre-injury, it's almost as if Luke Littler has reignited Michael van Gerwen, because that fire was back, that he literally flew to Bahrain from his holiday. Then in Den Bosch, he won it and beat Luke on there, and it almost seemed that Luke's fired him again.
Absolutely, and he's a player who thrives off rivalry, who thrives off someone threatening being the top dog. Because even though he's had other world number ones, he's always seen himself as the main man. He's never doubted that, and when he's needed to, he's proved it. He's those 3 weeks in the Premier League where he was winning without playing well, by his own words, and I think so. He's done that, and I think at the moment, maybe I don't think anyone doubts that him at his best ability is better than anyone else that we've seen yet, but at the moment maybe there is a doubt that is he the main man in darts right now? Is it Luke Humphries? Is it Luke Littler? So I think he wants I don't think he doesn't need to prove himself, but I just think he constantly wants to make a statement at the moment, which is probably why it's even more frustrating for him when it's something out of his control and prevents him from doing that.
Well, he also won't like the fact that everyone else is talking about Luke and not him, that he loves to be the centre of attention at the moment, and he's not.
And I sometimes, it goes back to a question you said earlier, I sometimes think when players speak about the media attention that they're getting, is there a little bit of that in there?
Yeah.
But look, he's clever enough, he's a smart guy, Michael, and he knows how to say things to get the attention back on him, and how to put his rivals under pressure as well. I just hope that we do see a sustained period of the best of Michael van Gerwen, like we saw 5 years ago, 7 years ago, when he was majestic for long periods of time. If you can imagine, he plays a full year totally injury free, and plays at that kind of level, but now he's got Luke Littler and Luke Humphreys and other players like Gerwyn Price, for example, able to match him.
100%.
It's going to be incredible.
You had the privilege of calling in the World Seniors Final. John Henderson taking the title, another great tournament at the Tavern, and great to see Hendo smiling with a nice world crown in tow as well. Yeah,
and it didn't look like he would after his first match. I really felt that in both seniors tournaments, John Henderson's turned up as a favourite, and I didn't think it didn't look like he dealt with it well, the pressure of being the favourite. But once he got through that first match, he started to just get better and better as the tournament went on, and that makes him dangerous now for everything else, because he's now dealt with it and won, and next time he knows he can do that. Henderson, incredible guy, fantastic darts player, will never have been favourite for tournaments in his PDC career, he's seeing it a different way to like Robert Thornton, who has pitched his tent in the seniors. John wants to get that winning feeling and then go back and play on tour again and see what else he can achieve there, and has achieved some incredible stuff there. So it'll be a really good moment. I don't think there's anybody that will begrudge John Henderson another magic moment in his career like that.
No, 100%, and it'd be interesting to see when that Crossroads come from, that what he does, and because the seniors now, there's a lot of trophies and a lot of money on offer compared to no guarantees on the Pro Tour, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it'll depend on where he sees his game at the time. If he goes up and wins all the trophies, which is possible, he's won the first one, does he want to defend them all, or does he actually go, you know what, if I can, because let's face it, it's not a load of old men that he's playing against. Some very, very handy players that he's having to get through some difficult games, produce some good performances. If he's looking at it and going, well, I would like to defend him, but I've been averaging in the mid-90s throughout the whole year. I am going to make money on the PDC too if I do that. Then I think he's the type of person that will go back. But see how it unfolds.
We're obviously here at the Super Series. Are you excited for the year ahead? Because last time we spoke, we didn't know the crop of new players that were going to be available to us. Obviously, Q School has been and gone. And are you excited now for the year ahead here at the Super Series?
This year has been fantastic so far. I think the start of the year has been the most exciting we've had since the end of the last Champions Week. Full credit to Scott Taylor, top talent. I think this is giving players like Scott as well the opportunity to win a big title that perhaps they may not get in their PDC careers. Jim McEwen, another one, the guy that won it before. I can't remember who won before that.
I can't remember what happened to him.
Yeah, but I think the start of this series, well, first of all, the double start week, what a success that was. So much interest in that, so much fun. The players really bought into it as well, all seem to enjoy doing something different, which I think can be one of the criticisms for televised darts elsewhere, that you get a lot of the same formats, a lot of the same players doing a lot of the same things, and doing it very well. But I really enjoyed being involved in something different. But then the first couple of weeks of the new series, the standard's been fantastic, and the excitement on the Saturday nights from the audiences in here, the players themselves feeding off that, and the players really going at it. Has been a lot of fun, and me like you have seen some of the players that are going to be coming, and there's some pretty big names appearing for the first time, but also some exciting names that people might not have heard so much of, which again, who knows, we might be unearthing the next big thing to go into PDC darts this year.
Well, that link up with the ADC is just getting stronger and stronger, and it is difficult to get here now, but we're seeing the fruits of that, because the amateur game, I don't think it's ever been in a better position.
No, and you're looking at groups now where you can't really pick out a winner because the ADC qualifiers are so strong. The ADC Europe situation changed slightly, so they get one wild card and one qualifier. But again, those players that are coming in have won something to get here. They've got here by right. But on the day we're recording this, I think we've just seen Michael Huntley, who struggled for 2 days, but then
brilliant today.
Yeah, fantastic. Beat 3 players who were fighting for the top spot in the group, and all the groups suddenly are really, really competitive. I think gone are the days where we have players that are just sort of there, not to make up the numbers, but everyone expects to beat. Every game now can go either way, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, and obviously last week as well, another exciting talent in Conor Heenan has finally won his week, and he looks probably ready to take that next step in his career. And
I think we saw a couple of players actually over the last couple of weeks, one who won the week and one who didn't. Conor Heenan definitely, because who knows what a win can do for a player. If he goes and wins, maybe wins Champions Week, gets more success. He was already talking about going back to the Challenge tier and doing some stuff there that he's not done yet. But I think the week before as well, didn't win, but Shane McGurk was fantastic, a really, really exciting talent as well. So I think a couple of players from over in Ireland that are really exciting. And then Rhys Robinson, who has been there before, he's kind of carving out a home for himself on the Super Series stage. I'm not saying he won't go and achieve things in the PDC again if that's what he chooses to do, but what he's doing here, he's kind of becoming a bit of a brand, a maverick on that stage. He's lighting the place up, really engaging with the audience. He just kind of gets it, what this is all about. So I just think that every week now you're looking at it and there are at least 3 or 4 players that jump off the page. I'm really looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah, the other one, whilst we're talking about that as well, is someone that we've had from the start and it keeps getting better and better, is Jamie Kelly as well, because he went into a tough week, the one that Rhys Robinson pipped him in the end, but he's one again that just seems to be flourishing coming here.
Absolutely. I think there are a few players, that just have really earmarked this as something that they want to succeed and have mastered the format, have mastered getting to Saturday, because it's a lot of management. You know, we're speaking about taking responsibility for yourself in a different way earlier, but managing your schedule just in a day. You've got 5 matches across 5 hours, played at sort of different tempos. You might be off for one and then on for the next one and then off again and back on, but then you've got 3 matches off, and getting the practice right, getting your focus and concentration right for that period of time. It was very stop-start. He's one of the players that does seem to have mastered how to get to Saturday. Won a week before, came close to winning a week again. And I think what's nice about this is just in a small way, you're seeing players get the opportunity to sort of fulfill that dream of having that winning moment on a stage. Even Luke Littler, who's going to go on and win the biggest events in the world. Look at the reaction. Look at that video when he won his first Super Series Champions Week and the ticker tape comes down and he's got the trophy in his hand. He's emotional. It means something to the players, and then that translates to the audience because they can feel that they can connect, and there might be a few budding dart players out just to go back to the ADC thing that think, well, that could be me.
What's the next step for the Super Series then? Because it's unearthing great talent, it's giving them a platform. What do you feel the next step is?
I think certainly to do more in terms of the specials weeks. I think that the feedback on that was fantastic. So I think while I think the Super Series ticks a lot of boxes, so there's the unearthing of new talents, there's a visibility of people that were well known in the past, and now with that specials week there's this ability to try new things, to do something a little bit different. I think, look, if you're watching the Super Series, you're a hardcore darts fan. Generally, you're watching a player that you've heard about that you want to watch, or you're supporting someone, or you're trying to have a bit of fun having a bet, that kind of thing. However, I think one of the sort of little criticisms that it's had is that the format it just goes round on a merry-go-round, which is fine for people who are like us, dedicated to darts, want to watch it. So just breaking up those series with those specials weeks, introducing a few new faces and stuff as well. I've been a little bit more involved in behind the scenes stuff and trying to sort of influence the scheduling a little bit and trying to spread out those new names, making sure that it's not every week doesn't look the same. And I think we're achieving that at the moment. I think that's the next stage, is just to keep growing it, keep the interest by, well, we've got this player coming in, you may not have heard of them, but they're fantastic. You may have heard of them, and you really want to see them. And also just trying a few different things. I have to be careful what I say, because I know what the next specials week is, but it's not been announced yet.
Do you want to drop it?
No, not yet. But I think it will go down well. And I think that one person appearing in that, in particular, is well overdue. That's what I'll tease. I think that we've been looking forward to that player playing, and they're going to be here, so I'm excited for that.
Excellent, that covers the Super Series. Just looking ahead, we've got some great stuff coming up in darts. Already the match play is on the horizon. I know we all love it there. Are you excited for what 2024 is going to bring for the sport now? Yeah,
absolutely. And I was watching the UK Open, and I was just at home watching it as a fan, and I felt like I'm, as you are, I'm involved in darts all the time. If I'm not working at a PDC event, I'm here at the Super Series on a daily basis, 6 days a week. And it's like, does the butcher go home and have steak for tea? It's a little bit like that. So I haven't watched as much other stuff sometimes in the last couple of years, but I was watching the UK Open, and I just found myself really into it, really enjoying it, despite the fact that everything else, it was like everything else around my work is darts. And it just felt like, it almost felt like the World Championship again. And you go in the media room at the World Championship, it's a different feeling. You get those sort of
100%.
It's massive. And I was like watching the UK Open thinking, this is like just a massive World Championship with like double the amount of players in it. And that's the because of the Luke Littler effect, because there are so many players who can now win titles. The match play is going to be massive. The Grand Prix is going to be massive, and all these events, I think, are going to feel as big as the World Championship, because darts is now bigger, as we discussed at the start of this chat, and then the World Championship itself is going to be out of this world.
Maybe does this speed up the process of going from 96 to 128, this boom? Because in terms of tour members, affiliate tours, qualifiers and everything like this, does this maybe just speed up the process to get us to 128?
I'm torn on it, because I'm not a massive fan of 96. I think the odd number and how it's used at the moment, and having, because of the promotional aspect of it, having a player from the second round in on the first
I'm with you on that, I'm with you.
I find it awkward. So having a clean number like 128 would solve that problem, but then it would create another problem, meaning the opening night is not going to start with the world champion if they're not going to play in the first round, or I don't know how they would do it. Do they go back to
just stick them all in? They've got to play in round one.
And so I think it potentially, but then I don't know. I think there's something about the World Championship being smaller that for some routes, not for every route, for some routes it's the easiest tournament to qualify for.
Yeah, agreed.
Should it be the hardest?
Okay.
I'm really torn on it. I think it's sometimes fair to sit here and go, I haven't really got an opinion on that, because I don't know which is better. Maybe the move to 96 should never have happened. Maybe it should have been a big jump from
64 bang to the 128.
Yeah, but I think the World Championship's fantastic. Those early days, those early rounds just still feel a little bit awkward to me, so I think it doesn't need fixing. That's not what I'm saying at all.
No, I get what you mean.
But it may or may not be an improvement, and I'm just excited to watch it. But I think every tournament this year is going to be really, really exciting. And I think there were people last year. This time last year, we would be sitting here having a chat about, as the Premier League gone stale, as this that sort of conversation. And I think there were people losing interest in darts, and I don't know anyone now who's having those negative sort of conversations. Everybody is excited about darts now, and it's in a great place.
Before I let you go, I want the Mystic Murph. Does Luke Littler win the TV tournament this year? One of the big ones.
I can't see how he doesn't. I think there are probably 16 players who can win TV titles, particularly the ones that are sort of run over 3 days. But I think there's probably maybe 3 or 4 players that I would expect to win a TV title this year, and he's definitely one of them.
Murph, absolute pleasure catching up with you as always, buddy.
Pleasure's all mine. Cheers, Phil.